Hello, my friends. PT Pop here. All four lobes of my brain securely bound behind my back. So I'm reading through some of my comments tonight, and I wanted to thank those of you who have watched my College is a Ripoff video series. And I'm going to continue on why college is a ripoff. Stay tuned. You know, when I was a kid, both my brothers and my sister went to college. Both my parents went to college. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, went to college, and she became a school teacher. And when I was a kid, I imagined college was the place to go. It was like the bridge from high school to the real world. It was the bridge to a career and a future. And that's the way they sold it and they portrayed it. And much like other things, like many other things in this country, they sell it to you. It's a product that's sold to you because we live in a capitalistic society and everything's based off of products and advertising. And college was sold to me as like a utopia almost. And it ended up being kind of like a youth utopia, as I said in another video. So it's like your last bastion of innocence for the real world rapes it, takes it away from you. And I remember getting on campus, and my first, I would say even in my all 4 years, but my first quarter in college at a high university was just like, I was just in a euphoric state of mind. I completely forgot about home. I was just like girl crazy. I mean, there were gorgeous girls everywhere. I mean, like, whoa. I mean, just maddening. Drive any young guy crazy who likes girls. So, like, my head's on a swivel. And I met all kinds of people. I still friends with one guy, kind of friends with him, when he decides to return my messages. Pete. Dope. I don't even know if he's still alive. For all I know, the guy is dead. I have no idea. But I met guys. I joined a fraternity. But I remember I wasn't... The thing with college, you're going to have to understand if you're a younger person, and I know this will sound condescending because I'm older, but you've got to understand that when you're 18, 19 years old, if you don't have any really world experience, and you still have the rose-colored glasses on, and you still think the world is wondrous, you're going to walk into college thinking it's wondrous. And it's going to be a great feeling. But honestly, that's a lie. It's all like a lie to get you to go to college. And I started to question college was my freshman year, the spring quarter of my freshman year, when I had a philosophy class. And the teacher came in one day, and he had a big wet stain on his crotch. Now this is spring 1985. It's spring semester. It's southeastern Ohio. It's like 85 degrees outside and like 80% humidity because southeastern Ohio gets really humid. So we're all sweaty. This is back in the days where I don't even know if this building had air conditioning, but the windows were open behind me. It was a miniature lecture hall, maybe seated maybe 50 people in an old building on like the main campus of Ohio University. And this guy walks in, and he kind of looked like Garrison Keillor, if you've ever heard of Garrison Keillor from Prairie Home Companion. But it wasn't Garrison Keillor. And this guy, it was a philosophy class. And I had to take it. It was one of my, I don't know what you call them, prerequisites or filler classes. One of these bullshit. Your first year, you take bullshit classes. And then your second year, you get into your main courses, which is all horseshit, the way they structure that. But anyway, I get into this class. This guy walks in one day, and he's talking to himself. He's just like, he's drenched in sweat. His crotch is saturated. He's wet himself. And he's at the back of the, I don't know if they still use blackboards, but this is in the day of blackboards. And he's writing with chalk on his board. Then he writes this way, and then he writes over what he just wrote. And then he's like, oh, and then Socrates said, and he just looked around the room like this. And then the sophists were all puzzled, and then Socrates said, and then he'd write over what he just wrote, and then he'd write diagonally across it. And I thought he was being, I don't know what the word is, like he was being obvious. I thought he was being eccentric. I was like, really? This must be philosophy. Look at the man. He's eccentric. He's a philosopher. He's trying to tell us something. But what is it? What is he telling us? What is he saying? Lord Jesus, what is the man saying? The greatest sophist of all, the Lord Christ. What is this man saying? And he was just dripping in sweat. So the class ends. I think I had him twice a week. God, don't ever take philosophy unless you're like a religion student, or whatever you call it. I don't remember what you call religion, study religion. So this guy comes in the second day of the week. He doesn't have the wet stain in his crotch, but every day he comes in, he's like, oh no, yeah, man, and the Socrates and the Sophists and then Gargantuan and he's just talking gibberish for an hour. We'd sit there, and we're all just like looking at each other. So like the next week, I started bringing friends into the class from my dorm. I brought this guy Ron in. I said, Ron, you got to come check this guy out. He's so eccentric. He's wild. Is this what college is really all about? Is this it? You know? So Ron comes in with one of his friends. Like half the class is filled with all these other people who brought their friends in. So it's become a circus to watch the circus freak at the bottom of the lecture hall who's Socrates, sophist. He's like completely, I have no idea. I'm taking notes too. That's the scary thing. I'm 19 years old. I'm taking notes. So this week comes and goes. The next week comes in, and this teacher's not there now. The room is empty, just the students. There's nobody at the front of the room. This man walks into the room who's like 5'2". He's got long gray hair. Now, this is back in the 1980s. This is 1985, where people smoked in the buildings. This man walks in. His right arm is shrunken. It's shriveled. He was born with a birth defect. His arm was like a claw. He had a cigarette in it. And he had Birkenstock sandals and khaki shorts. And a beard and John Lennon glasses. And he's smoking out of the claw. He's like, well, kids, would you please have a seat? And he sits down on the edge of the desk. And he's smoking out of his claw, My God. And I'm 19 years old, and I'm like, who is this guy, man? More philosophy. I need more philosophy. I was so lost in this class. He goes, I'm sorry, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid your professor has had an illness. He's had a mental breakdown, and he will not be returning this spring. I will be continuing your class. My name is Bill Schmader. I don't know what his name was. I'm the head of the philosophy department. And I'm sitting here thinking, at the age of 19, I said, oh my God, that guy was losing his marbles. The previous teacher had a nervous breakdown. And the new guy, the head of the philosophy department, Mr. Clawman with a cigarette, isn't much of an improvement. And I really started to question what I was doing in college. Because the final was a written essay. And back then they gave you these little blue essay books that you had to buy at the bookstore before the test for the final. And I had no idea, absolutely no idea what the class was about then, nor do I now. And I remember on the final, I just made a bunch of shit up. I literally made gibberish up and put it in the book, and I got a D. Now, the moral of the story is, if you're a young person and you watch this about college as a ripoff, you've got to understand something. These teachers work for you, and they work for your parents. And if you and your parents aren't paying the bill for college, the government is. but these people work for you. And if a college class is not going the way it should be going, or you feel something's kind of out of sorts, you've got to tell somebody about it. You've got to report it. You've got to ask for credit for that class back. And you've got to stand up for yourself, because these colleges are filled with crackpot teachers. At the collegiate level, they're called professors. If they have a doctorate in the courses they're studying, like if they have a doctorate in psychology, they're called professors. If they're teaching assistants, they're called TAs. At least they were in my day. Now they're probably called transgender associates or something. I have no idea. But they're teaching assistants. But if you're going to go to college, you have to take off the rose-colored glasses and realize this is a business investment. This is a time that people want to go get laid, and they want to get drunk, and they want to have party, and they want to have fun. But really, that's not what college is. College is supposed to be going to school to learn some useful information to help get a job in the real world. But it's really, even how it's structured is not really going to do that for you. I bet you 90% of the people I know have never used their degrees. I've got a friend that was an HR major. He now sells insurance. My wife studied political science, and she's an office manager. I know a couple people that were education majors that are teachers, but I know a guy that was a history major, and somehow now he's a teacher. He must have gotten certified as a teacher. But nobody uses their education. It's a ripoff. It's a complete ripoff. And you're going to run into these crackpot teachers that shouldn't be teaching, should be nowhere near a classroom. And if you're young and mature enough to know this, go to the head of your department and say, hey, I got a crackpot teacher. He's talking to the walls. He's wet himself in class. Something's got to be done. I mean, today I think younger people are more astute and able to do that. So you've got to kind of think about that stuff before you embark down the path of college. It is not the yellow brick road. The only comparison to the Wizard of Oz movie in college that is an exact match is there is a great mighty Oz behind the curtain running the whole thing. And it's all a scam. It's all a sham. And college, really, you shouldn't go to it unless you know definitely it's going to get you a job. And you have to sit down with these advisors, academic advisors, saying, how am I going to get a job? How is this going to get me a job? And how am I going to pay my bills when it's over? Because you're going to run into a lot of bad teachers. And I didn't know that when I was younger. I didn't complain about this philosophy professor. I thought he was just being philosophical. I thought there was some type of gimmick going on. And there's teachers like that. There's teachers like that. And you've got to put down the bong, put down your pipe, put down the beer, and get sober for a minute and find out college is really for you, because you're just going down there to get stoned. You're going to go $50,000 to $100,000 in debt. That's an expensive bag of weed, isn't it? That's an expensive 6-pack of beer. You could sit at home with your buddies and get stoned. Don't go to college and waste everybody's money just so you can go into debt and get high. That's a damn expensive trip, man. College is not worth it. If, I thought it was the answer. It got me nowhere. College has gotten me into the door of companies. But I personally switched my degree to business, and I'm not a business person. I'm not a corporate person. I have a business mind, but I don't have a corporate mind. I'm not a Nazi youth, and you have to be sociopathic, psychopathic, like a Nazi youth type to really succeed in the business, really succeed and advance and get ahead. You have to be detached. But outside of that, college doesn't teach you that. College doesn't teach you how to cope with the world or the stresses or the changes. It doesn't give you tools to succeed. So that's what I'm saying about the college world. Speak up for yourself, stand up for yourself, stand up for your parents' money or the government's money. Do something about it. Pt.7 signing off. If you like my videos, give me the thumbs up, the snooter. Auf Wiedersehen. Bye.